Yo, welcome back. This is a 5-foot Aliens dropship from the film Aliens, and it was knocked off its stand, suffered a big catastrophic incident. The wings broke off, broke into loads of pieces. It's been here for a refurb, so it's not looking too bad now. It's pretty much back together and done. So if I take you back about 5 days ago now, here's the start of the refurb. It's 5 feet long, it's pretty big, and it's a chunky old beast. So it's not too bad, to be fair. It's not my paint job, it's nothing to do with me apart from this refurb that I'm going to do, and you'll no doubt have noticed the metal bits sticking out of the body. So this was the main bugbear, this is where everything broke, so what I'm trying to do is rebuild this and make it completely idiot proof with a metal internal armature, like I do for all my models, because you know, you may as well have them tough enough to take a bit of abuse. This is the aftermath of the wing assembly, and these are the internal structure that I've designed to fit inside this 3D printed part. I've made these laser cut pieces of metal, all separate, so that I can tweak and adjust these things to work, hopefully, if I can get everything to fit back together properly. So these are going to be the fulcrums that mount inside the body here to give you the pivot for the wings. So I've had to build these metal pieces connect to each other from left to right all the way through the body here, so that these sit as a separate unit inside this unit, and they then take the force of these arms that the model is going to be pivoted on. You can see the damage and the extent of everything that broke off. I'm working on this section now to get that nice and flush and get everything looking nice, and I'll show you how they fit through the body. This was the easiest way that I could work out how to do the job. So the two metal tubes correspond to these two 10mm bolts. It's very simple, very crude, but very effective. They fit into those tubes, and it's exactly the same for the other end. So those two are now one unit that's sitting and resting on the strongest place I could find on the model. Now these hinges are strong enough to take the load, because once these are open, it's probably, I don't know, 4.5 feet, 4 foot maybe, wingspan here. It's pretty big, so that works out pretty good. Now I've got to sort out all the blemishes and all the problems. So I've got a depression here where the 3D print kind of collapsed, and I couldn't get it to shape up from inside because it was very difficult. This metal armature runs all the way through here and into the first, I don't know, ½ an inch of this pod section. I didn't want to run it all the way around because that would have put way too much weight out on the end. So what I'm doing at the moment is just sanding this depression area out. I've taken off that detail panel that used to be on there. That'll go back eventually. And alignment wasn't particularly brilliant, so, as far as I could tell, because all the pieces came together a bit like an archaeological dig, to be honest with you. It's like trying to put together an old Greek urn, you know? This is a file that's got a clean edge, no teeth on the side, so that you can butt up to an edge square and only cut into the surface underneath, not into that wall, because last thing you want to do is excavate underneath there. Right, we're a few minutes later now, and this is not tacky, so I'm just going to take off what I don't need, because there's no point in sanding areas that you don't need to sand. So what I'm doing is just running the knife along the flat surface of the areas that don't have filler on, and then that will give me an edge to work to with the file. Okay, so this section here now is pretty much filled with the car body filler. Sometimes you get like a slightly tacky surface to it. That's just the way it interacts with the atmosphere and stuff. So what I like to do first is just to go over that with a coarse sandpaper, just to take off that very top layer, because that will gunk up your file like crazy. If you've got a file and you work with resin, get yourself a file cleaning wire brush. They work really good. Now you can start. So what I'm trying to do is cut this back to this junction here. So what I'm not going to do is file past that point onto this surface, because I want to flatten this first before I bring that in. Okay, and if I lay the file on there, you can probably see there's a gap of around about 2 mil in the middle of that. Not bad there. It gets deeper and then disappears to the top. So I can see the area that I need to fill there, all in this unfiled zone. Surface is coming pretty good. Now this area slightly concaved on here, but I don't really want to address this panel because I don't want to do too much of a repaint, and I want to keep things cost effective for the guy who's having it repaired. So what I'm going to do is blend this bottom edge up to the point where there's a seam line in there, a panel line, and then I'm going to make that a secondary panel with a lip on it, so it looks, for all intents and purposes, like a piece of detail on the top there. But that's to come shortly. And now applying a fraction more pressure to this edge just to bring this area down here, but I still want to keep it flat, so I'm not angling it, I'm just applying pressure predominantly to this area and watching how that line progresses across into the area that I've already done. See, these depressions are nowhere near as pronounced now that I'm taking this edge down to match this one. So we'll keep at it for a few more minutes. Right, now I can feel the rasp starting to engage this edge here. So I'm flipping over to the normal file for the last few passes and we'll see what's left to fill. So the center section has completely disappeared now, so that's flush and flat, we know that. If we lay the file on there, there you go, you've got a flat surface this time. Slight depression at this edge where we're going to feather it into this opposing panel, but for that I'm pretty good to go. A tiny bit of filler along the top edge there, one more pass, and then I think I'm okay for finishing that off. I think that'll be good enough to disguise itself, and then I just keep working around the whole thing. Right, now I've got some kind of structure going on there. I need to clean up this hinge assembly with the pieces that wrap around it to make it all nice and part of this wing rather than just a bit of metal shoving out the middle. What we've got to do now is clad it so everything fits nicely together, and then we get the paint going. So we're not looking bad now. It's definitely a usable unit. We'll give that a few minutes to get to the rubbery stage, and then I'm going to trim it with my craft knife just to take off what I don't need, and then we'll crack out these two plastic units, which should give us a nice curved face to the back. What I'm going to try and do is shave a line that way, flush to this surface, just to take off what I don't need, which is that top skin there. Doesn't have to be mega accurate, there's a lot of work to go yet. Flip it over, this side needs a little bit more excavation. It's kicking off now, so got to be careful I don't end up chopping my hand off. Running it up to the edge of that original 3D print. I'm trying to get it to give me some kind of surface that I can work to. So let's get it off and see if my experiment has worked. So because this is car filler and this is nylon, I should be able to just flex that. Oh, here we go. So that's given me now a nice curved surface on the back of that hinge that I can work to. Let's see what this one does. A little bit of a flex and that comes off. So just need a touch more clearance. It fitted, but it's too tight. Take off this plastic card now, just give it a flex, immediately clicks off the surface, and yeah, we're there. The idea being the plastic card strips then clad this to give the correct finish, and then the detail on top, and two end caps in cut perspex to cover the end of this bolt hole as that runs through, and then I think we're pretty much there. finally got all the bits filled and all the sections back together. I've now got to start blending the paintwork and redoing these areas that have all been fixed. So yeah, paint job time. Right, so now I'm at the stage of trying to get some kind of colour match on this thing. This is the original paintwork for it, and you can see it's like an off browny grey sort of colour, but it's on top of a silver base, so the silver actually shines through the brown a little bit. So I'm never going to get a colour match to that particular brown without taking the silver into account. So I've done a couple of tests, and I've had a can mixed up of this taupe grey, and I've done a tester over the top of silver. So you can see I'm getting close, but there's nowhere near as much red in what I've got here as there is on there. But if I do a light pass over it with a darker brown, with a more red brown, I get something that's pretty close to that, with a little light pass just to blend. I think I'm going to get away with that pretty good. So that's what I'm going for. And the final colour to go over the top is this mix that I've done here, which will knock it back to approximately the same kind of tone. It's never going to match because I'm never going to, you know, this, I've no idea what this paint is. You can see it's a pretty funky application, so yeah. Anyway, here we go. Right, so on to the next stage. We've had two colours of brown on there. I've mixed those to try and blend them as much as possible to the original on the model. And now I've got to put on the black outlines for everything that the guy's done. It's not my way of doing things, but I've got to match this to the original model because there's no way I'm painting the whole thing again. So it appears on the original that there's a slight shine to it, so I'm going with a satin black, and yeah, here we go. Okay, now we've got the blocky black lines on there to match the other paint job. We can start to just peel off a little bit of this, just to give ourselves the chips on the corners and what have you. Hopefully to match in with the other paint job. If I feel there's a lack of silver on this in comparison to the rest of the paint job, I'll add it by hand. But I wanted to get that multi-layered, textured feeling like the rest of the paint that's on there. So there you have it, a 5-foot alien dropship, and yeah, just another one of the mad things that comes through the workshop here. So I'll see you soon. Take care. Thanks for watching. Pop a like and subscribe if you're into modelling, and see what madness turns up next. See you soon. Bye.
All right, sweethearts, what are you waiting for? Breakfast in bed? Fall in, people.
Oh, we've got to get the other dropship from the Sulaco.